What is going on, y'all? The NBA Finals is coming up soon. Here in a couple days, we will be starting it off. Congratulations to both the Celtics and the Mavericks, as they both will be competing in the NBA Finals. Obviously, we kind of figured the Celtics were going to be there. The Mavericks, they did shock me, and they made it look easy. They made it really look easy. We were sitting there talking about, well, we think the Timberwolves are going to win. We think Timberwolves are going to do this, that, and the other because they kind of dismantled the Nuggets at times. And guess what? Here's the other way around. The Mavericks really had the Timberwolves number. They really did. So really, when I'm thinking about this finals, Mavericks versus Celtics, kind of feels a little old school. I'm gonna be honest with you. It feels a little old school. I mean, I believe it's been about 13-ish years or something like that since the Mavericks made it last and won last. And then obviously the Celtics kind of growing up, they were the team. They were like the 2008 up until probably about 2011, 2012 era. The Celtics feels like they were always in the finals or close to it. It kind of feels like an old school finals here a little bit. Obviously, new school names: Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, Joe Brown, Kristaps Porzingis if he's healthy. We still got the old names: Al Horford. Shout out to Al Horford. But anyways, for my predictions for this series, it's kind of straightforward. When you look at the Celtics run, and you can't really blame the Celtics for the run they've gotten. I can blame them for what I'm about to say, but they were dealt the card that they were dealt. They won the games that they had to win. I know in the first round they obviously didn't see Jimmy Butler. Second round for half the series they didn't see Donovan Mitchell. Third round in the conference finals they didn't see Tyrese Halliburton for about half the games, and there's not much you can do about that. You had an easier run than most because the superstars of every team you played went down, or came into the series injured or whatever it might be. You had a little bit easier of a run. You can't control that. You just got to go out there and win your games. What you can control is how you play during those games. And to me, watching the Celtics, they kind of let teams hang around when maybe they shouldn't have. I didn't think the Pacers should have been playing close at any of those games. I mean, I don't think that the Cavaliers should have. I believe they had one game without Donovan Mitchell. They played close, but I think it was about 5 games total in those two series, and then if you want to throw the one game in Miami, they've shown that they can play close against teams they are clearly better than. They're clearly better than. It makes you really wonder where that killer instinct, where that next level is with the Celtics. And when I'm thinking of the Mavericks, I understand that they obviously dropped a game to the Timberwolves. To me, the Mavericks have been tested. They've been tested. They've played series longer. They've dealt with some of the superstars that have been put in their way. Obviously, they made Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns look pretty much for the first few games like they weren't even on the court. Obviously, they got going there towards the end, but they're forcing foul trouble. They're getting this to happen. They're getting that to happen. And it really never felt like the Timberwolves could get their feet underneath them because, I mean, the game that they sent them home in the first about 5-10 minutes, Jaden McDaniels was done. He couldn't play really for the rest of the half because he had 3 fouls. They're really good at getting them to where they want them. Obviously, Derek White, solid defender. Obviously, Jrue Holiday, solid defender. If those guys start to get into foul trouble with Kyrie and Luka doing what they do with baiting fouls, it could be a long day for the Celtics, I think, man. It could be a real long day. Now, the X factor here is going to be Kristaps Porzingis because we haven't seen Kristaps in this finals run yet. We haven't seen him in the playoffs. So obviously that's going to be a wrinkle in there that hasn't been in there the last few series. So maybe they do look better with Kristaps back out there, but how good's Kristaps going to be his first games back? I think it's going to be a good series. I don't think this is going to be a 4-0 or anything like that. But I think I got to go with the Mavericks to win it all. I really do. Because you look at the Mavericks, the role players are stepping up. I get the Celtics are too, but For me, it really comes down to that just the Mavericks have dealt with more adversity. They're more in a rhythm right now to deal with that. They're more in rhythm right now to deal with Jason Tatum, to deal with Jaylen Brown, to deal with the extras, the other guys, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard off the bench, Al Horford. They're better set right now to deal with it. Whereas I just watched the Celtics at times struggle to stop teams that didn't have their superstar, the Donovan Mitchells, the Tyrese Halliburtons. I mean, Miles Turner was lighting them up, which Miles Turner is a good player, but he was probably their third best player on that team, and then you didn't play the first best player. Pascal was doing his thing a little bit. They're able to slow down Pascal a little bit, but do you have enough to slow down Luka Doncic? Do you have enough to slow down Kyrie Irving? If you can slow down those guys, can you get going elsewhere where you know that the rest of the guys on the court for the Mavericks are probably going to be quality role players, hustle guys, Derek Lively, Derek Jones Jr., P.J. Washington, who's capable of a big game. It's really going to come down to whether or not you can match. Well, it's going to be, for the Celtics, in my opinion, in order to win this series, you're going to have to find ways to limit Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, which is going to be complicated. Those guys will score. They will score. It depends how much you can limit them if you're going to win this series, because I think those guys are going to be the guys that I don't think this is going to be a role player series where the role players are going to be the ones to make the big plays. I really think they're going to lean on Luka and Kyrie here. So do you have the ability to stop them or slow them down enough? If you do slow them down enough, are you able to go back at them on the offensive side and get it done? I mean, it's gonna be a fun series. But to me, I look at a team like the Celtics who haven't had any test really in the playoffs yet, which is crazy to say because they're in the finals. They haven't had a test and they're in the finals. Pacers, a team that I didn't think really was ready for the conference finals. They made it, and then they made it there without their star for 2 games. They missed Tyrese Halliburton to close out the series. It's not. I mean, it's cool that they made it, but it's not really an impressive series victory, really. And it doesn't need to be impressive. They don't really need impressive victories. As long as they get victories, they did what they needed to do. But to me, if it's a fully healthy series, we haven't seen what the Celtics are capable of, what they're going to do, how they're going to react to the best teams, to the best players on the other team still being available. We haven't seen what could Donovan Mitchell do in a Game 4 or Game 5. We haven't got to see if Tyrese Halliburton was able to make those adjustments. We weren't able to see if Jimmy Butler was able to help out the Heat. We just weren't able to see what really the Celtics, how they would have reacted to the other team's star making adjustments. And Luka and Kyrie, they're going to go in there and, I mean, we all know Kyrie's cold-blooded. He can do whatever he wants. He can go for 30, or he can play a more relaxed kind of game where he just lets Luka do his thing. He's going to focus more defensively. He's going to focus getting the ball to Luka. I mean, Luka, if he sees Kyrie going off for a night, he knows how to sit back a little bit and just get the ball, bring it up, dish it to Kyrie, put Kyrie in a good position. Kyrie does his thing. I mean, that's a two-headed monster right there in guards that it's going to be a fun matchup between Derek White and Drew Holiday between those two. Do they match those guys up against them? It's going to be interesting. But ultimately, when it comes to the finals, I got the Mavericks winning. I have to have the Mavericks winning because I'm a full believer in that they've faced more adversity than the Celtics. The Celtics are not ready to handle that adversity yet. And that's not their fault. They just didn't have a complicated run. They didn't have a run where I was sitting there like, oh, they're just steamrolling teams. They had a run where they got by because other teams did not have their guys. Now, this would be completely different if we were talking about Jimmy Butler. They went in there and they struggled with Jimmy Butler, and they still won in 4 or 5 games. Be different if Donovan Mitchell was there the whole time and they won when they won. Be different if Tyrese Halliburton was there and they swept him like they did. But they haven't had a full series where they've had to handle adversity. They haven't. And to me, that is going to be the kind of experience, the kind of stuff you rely on in the NBA Finals. And the Mavericks got the advantage, the tougher series. They've played the guys that have been some of the best players in the league, and they played them for a full series. There was no games off of them. They're better able right now to handle all that adversity that is thrown their way. They're better able right now to know what they're going to expect when they have Jaylen Brown, when they have Jayson Tatum on the other side. Whereas the Celtics, they might not be ready for 7 straight games with Luka and Kyrie. But we know for a fact that the Mavericks, they will be ready for Jayson Tatum. They will be ready for Jaylen Brown. And they're ready to take it the distance. Whereas the Celtics, they haven't been tested nearly as much. But anyways, thank you for watching. I am going to pick the Mavericks. We are going to pick the Mavericks in 6. I'm going to go 6. I think they wrap it up in 6. But we're going to go with the Mavericks. Starts here in a few days. You're probably going to see this video on Tuesday. But thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. So let me know down below who you think is going to win the NBA Finals.